to Drive Thru Review 139. Today I'm going to talk about Article 27. It's a game from Stronghold Games. Plays 3 to 6 players. The box says it takes 30 minutes to play, I think. Yep. I would say actually the 3-player and the 6-player game seems like it takes about 45 minutes. You know, not that big a difference. But then the 4 and 5-player game take about a half an hour. This is a sort of a pure negotiation game. You've got like a lot of little hidden agendas that each round you're trying to see succeed, and you kind of bribe each other and negotiate and try to get certain resolutions passed in the UN, the United Nations. That's what Article 27 is about. And I would say that this game is going to require at least a play or two for everybody to get sort of the determine the correct valuation of the different things that are come up in the game that I'll explain in the walkthrough. The game's actually very, very simple, really simple. I mean, it only takes half hour or so to play, but similar to an auction game, people have to sort of learn, you know, what the value and the cost differentials of everything are going to be, and kind of really get a nice gut feeling of, you know, how the game's going to play out. So let me show you how it works. Very simple, and then I'll come back and tell you what I think. Okay, so to teach you the game, I'm going to sort of explain sort of your long-term goals first, followed by your short-term goals. So you have sort of a long-term goal that you're going to be sort of trying to achieve over the course of the game, and then each round you're going to have sort of temporary goals that you want to see happen with what goes on the board here. So here you've got sort of a representation of the UN, you've got the floor here, and you've got a little table space here. Then you've got 5 different colors of issues here: blue, green, black, red, and yellow. Basically what you're going to do each turn is you're going to pull one of these from each of these here and then put them on the table like so. You're going to pull out all 6 of them, or excuse me, 5 of them, and then you're going to vote. But before you vote, you're going to negotiate. So you're going to turn over this little timer here. It's a 5-minute timer, and then the current start player is going to get this awesome gavel. And let me just take a quick moment to talk about the components in the game are stellar. I mean, not only do you get this cool little gavel, but you can see the artwork and the sturdiness of the components are great, and some of the other components I'm going to show you in a minute are fantastic. But back to the game. So you're going to take and you're going to maybe put these in to vote on, or maybe you're going to negotiate not to have them in the floor. And so based on what's in the floor here, maybe only these ones get in the middle like so. Then you're going to vote yes or no if you want these to pass. And you can see here, they're the symbols like so. You got, you know, electricity type of things. You've got money issues here. So and then you've also got the colors. So you're going to vote yes or no for these to pass. Now if they pass, they're going to go up here to the top. So yes, the money went through, these 2 light bulbs went through, this one failed here, this one was a scale, and then you've got the this hat or whatever didn't pass. So you're going to fill those in from the right. Well, you can decide which ones that you want based on one of these that you're going to be given face down at the start of the game. So maybe you really want all the dollar signs to be passed. So you've got this at the game, nobody else knows you have this, so you're secretly trying to get all of those tokens passed. And then every round, you know, we're going to do another set. Now in addition to the main board, each player is going to get a little player board like so, and they're going to get a little shield here. And again, continuing my comments about the components here, these are very sturdy shields. They're not paper thin, these are a nice thick cardboard, and they have sort of these caricatures of the different nationalities that are part of the Security Council. So you've got the Americans here looking sort of cocky, you got the French guys sniffing flowers, you got the German guy who's got a little dice tower, he's obviously just playing games, you got the Russian guy who's doing his Khrushchev impression there with the shoe, Chinese guy swimming in cash, and then you have the British gal sipping tea and eating crumpets and stuff. So all very characteristic and humorous, and hopefully everybody has a good idea with that. So you're going to take one of these, I'll choose the Americans, and then you stick it in these little slots down here, and they sit in there nicely, and so you have a little hidden area here to protect all your stuff. Let's take that out for now. And you can see here you've got sort of a front side of your board, and then a hidden side of the board. So each round, players are going to draw 5 little tokens out of this bag secretly. And you're going to place them, and you have to draw one at a time and then place them like so. So you draw one, place it there, 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 and there. Okay? So you don't get a chance to move these around and put them where you want or anything. Now really, you're going to basically ignore the symbols on these tokens here and look just at the colors. So let's zoom in a little bit here. So you can see at the end of the round, you're going to get +5 influence if a green item passes, it doesn't matter what the symbol is, but if a green one passes, you get +5, +3 for a blue, +1 for a yellow, -2 for a yellow, and -4 for a black. So in the case of this, if they're both the same, you're basically going to add them up together. So I'd actually get -1 since you combine both amounts if a yellow passes. So I really don't want yellow or black to pass, and I want the green or the blue to pass. Well, you might be in a little bit of a conundrum if you were, say, the light bulb guy and the black one comes out and it's a light bulb. You've got to sort of take into consideration how much influence you're going to lose here versus how many influence you're going to get at the end of the game. So everybody's going to have sort of this short-term round-by-round goal. So the way the rounds are going to work is the start player is going to get this gavel, and they're basically the security general, and they're going to tap it, and then they're going to turn over this hourglass timer, which is a 5-minute timer. And then we have 5 minutes basically to negotiate and bribe each other. Well, the way that that works is each player is going to start the game with 12 of these influence tokens here. Okay? Now, if I was the Chinese player here, and this guy here was the American, I may say to him here, I'll give you 2 influence, I'll give you 2 of my influence here, put my little token on there, if you put green in the center of the table here. So maybe green is not in the center of the table, and I'll say I'll give you 2 influence if green is in the center of the table at the end of these 5 minutes. And then maybe another player says, I'll come along, I'll give you 5 influence not to put it in. And then you maybe say, okay, China will come in here, I'll give you 2 influence to put the blue one in. And there's basically a space for each of these. There's a space to put it in and a space to not put it in for each color here. And so if you're the security general or the star player, this is the area of the board that you're going to be focused on in terms of receiving the bribe. Now, if you're any other player, or even if you are the start player, you can also get bribes on these spaces as well. So you maybe will say, okay, I'll give you $2 or 2 influence to vote no on whatever ends up being in the center of the floor here. Or I'll give you $2 to vote yes. Or I'll give you $2 to veto, and I'll explain what a veto is in a second. Or it's got a little question mark here, and you may say, okay, I'll give you $2 if you put the red one in and the thing passes. So this one you can kind of provide some extra conditions on, a little bit more complex than yes or no, or it's in or it's not in. So you're going to keep doing that, taking bribes, and going through the round and negotiating. And either until this runs out, or the security general goes ahead and taps that and says, okay, I'm done, no more bribes, we can kill the timer, and then we're going to vote on whatever is in the middle here. So each player gets a yes vote and a veto vote. So everybody's going to take in their fists and they're going to choose one or none and then put it in their hand and reveal it. So the way that you will vote no is to basically have your hand empty. A veto is a much stronger thing than no. Okay, so depending on the number of players, there's a certain number of yes votes that are required to pass. So in a 3-player game, there needs 2 yes votes. In a 6-player game, there needs 4 yes votes. So if the resolution passes, all of these will go up into the top of the board like I explained before, and the security general will get a bonus of 5 influence if something passes on their turn. And then everybody's going to collect the bribes that they agreed to and actually did. So if, let's pretend I didn't put the green one in, so I would get the 5 influence for that, and then the Chinese player would get their influence back because I never did what they asked me to do. And you go through and check all of that, and if you voted yes and you got a bribe there, you'll get the vote for that. If you didn't vote yes, then obviously you won't get the bribe. Now let's talk about vetoing. Now if anybody reveals a veto, it's going to automatically fail the resolution no matter what. Doesn't matter how many yes votes there were. However, when you veto, you have to pay 5 influence back into the supply. So you've got to really, really, really want to veto that. So after we voted on it, and if we've passed it, we're going to take a look at what passed. So let's say these 3 up here passed. We had a blue, a black, and a green. So in this case, I'll get +5, +3 for 8. There was no yellows that passed, so I take those out of the mix. I can ignore them. But then I'm going to lose 4 because the black one passed. So I've got 8, basically -4, so I net 4 influence. And it's possible that you actually have to pay influence back in if something goes really awry for you. You're going to do 4, 5, or 6 rounds of that, depending on the number of players. And then at the end of the game, everybody checks their secret token that they wanted at the end of the game. And then you're going to see how far along your particular icon made it and what column they made it into, and you add that many influence to your score. And that's the game. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. As I said at the start of the review, I think this is a game that's going to require a couple of plays for people to really get into. One thing that I've seen that players should not do is if you are the security general, if you've got the gavel, then you don't want to really put anything in the middle of the floor to be voted on, because you really want to draw out all the bribes and things and get as much out of people as you can. And that's really the trick to the game, is when it's your turn to be the security general, then you really want to soak in as much money as possible, because that's when you're going to get your big cash influx. So in a 3-player game, what you're going to do is basically go around the table twice. So you're going to play 6 rounds. Each player is going to be the security general twice. And then a 4 or 5-player or 6-player game, everybody's only going to be the security general once. And in a 4 and 5-player game, you play 4 and then 5 rounds. In a 6-player game, you play 6 rounds. So it's a little bit more difficult to have a good turn as the as the start player, as the general, because it could just be that the tokens don't come out the way that people need them to, to give them a lot of points, so they're not bribing you as much, and then you don't get your little 5 influence bonus, if the resolution passes. So it's kind of nice as a 3-player game where you're going to go around twice and you can kind of get a little bit better read on the other 2 players. Now there's a variant in the back, and I would actually recommend this when you're playing with 6. Is normally you start with 12 influence, but there's a variant that if you want to kind of free up the influence supply a little bit, you can start with 20. And I said that's probably a little bit better, because I've seen in a 6-player game where a player or 2 will basically hose themselves out of the game. Now also I think that's due to lack of experience by everybody at the table, because if there's some new players, they're bidding too much, and then they kind of pushing people out of the game, but then they're getting their thing passed and the other guy's isn't getting passed, but this other guy paid too much, so he basically gave the start player tons of influence, more than they should have had. So it's a game that people are going to need to sort of metagame and play within, I think, their group, and get sort of a feel for each other and how they're going to play the game. And I think that's a really good aspect of the game that will make it a little bit more replayable within a group, and you can kind of trash talk and bring in prior sessions to the game. So I think that'll enhance the game a little bit. So it's it's a tough go, your first play, but it's like any game. I mean, your first play, you're not going to figure out the strategy of the game right off the bat. At least you shouldn't. So I would say definitely take a look at this. The components are just ridiculous. I mean, if I was giving awards for best components of the year, it would probably be this game, like, hands down. I mean, not only do you get the gavel, which is really cool, it's a neat little feature, but everything is thick and it's sturdy and it's clear. And the little caricatures on the shields are nice. The shields are thick, and the nice wooden pieces and everything are nice. So yeah, this is Article 27, and it only takes like half hour or so to play. So definitely take a look at it. Thanks.